Welcome to another beautiful day on planet Earth and another day of Dose of Did You Know, where inspiring, intriguing, unique individuals come to talk love and life and how it brought them to where they are today. I am your host, Danny Rocco, and with me is my very good friend, Frank. How are you, Frank?
Oh, Danny, great, and thank you for the invite. It's a shame we're not in person again.
I know. We will be in person again because we have lunch, we have shots. There are things that we have to accomplish in our life.
Exactly.
Before we get started and we dig into, who Frank is, tell the world a little bit about you.
Well, I guess first of all, I'm an Air Force veteran. Worked with Arizona State Police as a motorcycle officer, finally retired as homicide detective with 42 years of service, and probably better known as the creator, co-founder, and first president and CEO of the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yeah, I think so, which you're so humble. When you meet Frank in person, he is just this really cool kind of like badass cowboy. That is how I know Frank. And to know that you were part of something that is transformed into everybody knows of Make-A-Wish. It has changed so many lives and families. And I bet everyone out there knows somebody that it has touched. I mean, I personally do. One of my good friends who you did sign a picture for, she had a Make-A-Wish child. I mean, sometimes do you sit back and go like, whoa, wow.
Well, yes, definitely. And it all started because of one little boy who wanted to be a motorcycle officer like his heroes, Ponch and John, from a television show called Chips back in the day in the 70s, which was—
I remember that. I remember Chips.
You're showing your age if you do, Danny.
I know.
But his adventures to California Highway Patrol motorcycle officers, very popular back in the day, especially with the young kids. And this little boy, Chris, unfortunately had terminal leukemia, only a few weeks to live, and he wanted to meet a motorcycle officer. Now, again, this is in Arizona. In fact, we initially trained with California Highway Patrol. Our equipment was identical. Our uniforms are almost identical, except obviously ours said Arizona. So when I met this little boy, as far as he was concerned, he was looking at one of the Chips guys.
Yeah.
But Chris went on that day to become the first and only honorary Highway Patrol motorcycle officer in the history of the patrol, complete with his own uniform that we had custom made for him, his badge, which is still assigned to him today, motorcycle helmet, the smoky hat that the car officers wear, but more important to him, his motorcycle wings that we wear on our uniform, making him a full motorcycle officer. And unfortunately, Chris passed away a couple days after his wish had become true. And we learned he was going to be buried in a little town called Kewanee, Illinois. Now, these are the days before internet, if anybody can believe that, before cell phones. This is 1980 is when all of this happened. And my commander came to me and said, "We have lost a fellow police officer. I would like you and your partner to go back and give Chris a full police funeral," which we did in this little town of Kewanee. But the press picked this up. The local media, the local stations, ABC, NBC, and so on, started interviewing us, and they notified what we didn't know, Illinois State Police, City Police, County Police, who all joined us in this funeral procession to bury this little boy. In fact, he's buried in his uniform. His grave marker reads, "Chris Gracious, Arizona Trooper." But flying home, then, I just started thinking, here's a boy who had a wish, and we made it happen. Why can't we do that for other children? And that's when the idea of the Make-A-Wish Foundation was born, maybe 35,000 feet over Kansas or somewhere. But because of this little boy, now 40 years later, we have 62 chapters in the United States. We have 55 international chapters on 5 continents. And this figure, back to your question, kind of still amazes me. We have granted over 500,000 wishes. And on an average of every 28 minutes during the time we're going to talk today, somewhere in the world, a wish is granted to a little boy or girl.
That's crazy, that statistic.
It is. It's hard to get my head around on that.
Yeah. I mean, I know that they're big and you see, you know, Make-A-Wish and all of these different platforms and connected with these different businesses. But when you put it in that perspective, 28 seconds, that's pretty powerful.
28 minutes.
28 minutes.
28 minutes.
Seconds, minutes, you know, it's all the same up here in my brain.
That's
you know?
right.
it's so I have this like, so if you have not seen his movie out there, it's on Netflix. You got to go. You have to see it.
Oh, you mean this movie? Which
movie? Yeah, that movie.
That movie.
That movie. You have this heart because, so tell your story just a little bit. I want to go back because you were not in the best place when you had to, when they said, I want you, you should come and do this. And there's actually a beautiful woman in your life who is still in your life that kind of pushed them maybe to say, Frank's the guy. How did you go from such a hard place in your life to putting that aside and showing up for this little boy?
Well, and I guess I can blow the plot on the movie a little bit. And by the way, you mentioned the movie. It is currently on Netflix. In fact, Danny, we just got extended for another full year because of the popularity on Netflix. Really? But Wishman released in the theaters in last year. And in fact, we qualified for Academy Award for Best Picture, which just blew me away. The cast, I mean, what a tribute to the cast and crew. A low-budget independent movie to get qualified for Academy Award.
That is crazy. But before you answer this question, I got to go back because I'm like, you have a star in Las Vegas on the ground. Like, what is it? What is it called in Las Vegas? What is that boulevard called?
That is Las Vegas Walk of Fame. And my star is right in front of the Paris Hotel Casino. And I've met Elvis Presley back in his prior life. And it's kind of an honor in a sense that Elvis Presley, Bobby Darin, and me are on and there's only 82 stars on the Las Vegas Walk of Fame. And I was just there last week, so I got to polish it up a little bit.
I did see those pictures. I was like, man, one of these times we'll make it together there because that would like, Marilyn Monroe's like my big, like, since I was a child. So I've only taken a picture of one star, hers. And then next time I'm in Vegas, you'll be my second one to hang up because you have a special place in my heart. So I'm super stoked about that. But going back, because I don't want to talk about the movie a little bit. What made you have that place to say, okay, I'm going to do this for this? Was it Kitty? Was it something embedded in you that pulled at your heartstrings for this little boy?
Well, it was just a lot of things that I had never met this little boy. In fact, I didn't meet him until we actually flew in from a helicopter from his hospital to our headquarters building in Phoenix, the Highway Patrol headquarters building. But I was on a 10-man motorcycle tactical squad. We worked the whole state of Arizona. And I was also on what they called the fatal team, investigating the most horrific accidents. And how many children I've seen die. I've held in my arms as they're dying. There's nothing we can do for them. And when this little boy about something, he knew he was dying then. I can't even imagine that. At 7 years old, he knew he only had a few weeks to live. Yeah. But to give something to make him smile, to make him laugh, instead of just, you know, like I say, these terrific accidents where these children are dying, that was the whole thing on it. And in fact, I, in a couple of years before that, was in an accident and was pronounced dead at the scene, and in fact brought back to life. And during the counseling after that, to make sure I was okay to go back to work, because it took about 4 months because of injuries, massive skull fracture, brain injury, etc., that the counselor said to me, Frank, God spared you for a reason, and now it's up to you to find that reason. And I found that reason when I was introduced to this little boy with the lady you mentioned, Kitty, who is now my wife, was our traveling secretary at the time. I mean, there was no relationship going on, just a work relationship. And she's the one that kept egging me. You've got to do this. You've got to do this. This little boy needs help. And it was a father figure. Watch the movie and you'll see the whole story.
Yeah, you will. And there's also there is its own hidden romance that has nothing to do with Frank and Make-A-Wish, but it has everything to do with the movie, and a romance that was built during that movie, and they ended up getting married. You got to watch the movie to find out who those two characters are. I will message me after, and I'll tell you the two that ended up falling in love and getting married from Frank. So you're making love connections all over the world. I would think there must have been a part. If I were you, if I were to put my body in yours, in that when you said to me, seeing all of those, you're on the fatal, dealing with all those children that you can't bring back from those accidents, it must have been something a little surreal of not just this little boy going through it, but you're almost giving life and love to those that you couldn't, that pass, some sort of connection, some like energetic connection. That's at least what I was feeling, that you're passing it forward. You can't save everybody, but you can save and bring smiles to some that can. I would think that would have had something deep within you. Well, yeah, and you just said the key word, smiles. I mean, what do you want to see with young children? Smiles. My grandchildren, even my daughters when they were little, if they're laughing and giggling, how does that make you feel? That makes you feel so good that you're doing something to bring joy to their life. And when we started the Make-A-Wish Foundation, it was for children with terminal illnesses. None of these children survived. Leukemia back in those days, this is the 80s, was a death sentence. The children did not survive those. Now, the mission was changed about 25 years ago now to children with life-threatening illnesses, because through the grace of God and modern medicine, more and more children are surviving. But that initially thing that we could bring smiles to the faces of those children, and not just the children, but the families, mom and dad, brother, sister, whatever it might be. Let's say the most popular wish is a travel type wish, the Disney type wish. Yeah. And Make-A-Wish, it's not just for the child, it's for the whole family. Let them go to like a trip to Disneyland, not worry about the cost of a hot dog, whatever else. Just go have fun as a family unit. Bring that whole laughter and smiles to the family. And that was our goal, and we've achieved that goal. Over and above, you've achieved it. What would you say the biggest thing that you learned from that little boy? Was there something that really like changed the projection of your life, like of who Frank is? Yeah, I had a new mission in my life because of him. I had gone through unfortunately, a bad divorce, and I wasn't happy and really at work anymore. That life-changing accident that I was in, I had a lot of issues going on in my head. The PTSD, they call it now PTSD. Back then it was called combat fatigue. And I just needed to get the ghost out of my head. I needed a different path. And that started that whole new path. Now, we mentioned Kitty. She was one of the founding members of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I like to say that I got my wish 3 years later when she said, I do. So I got my wish. So you're supposed to say, oh, come on. Oh, I'm not getting all like, oh, Frank, look at you being still that cowboy. Still that cowboy for you and Kitty. So here you are, you start with Make-A-Wish. You end up giving it, or I don't even know what the proper verbiage is, but having people that know what they're doing, that can take Make-A-Wish and expand it into what it is today. But you didn't just stop there. You just aren't the founder of Make-A-Wish. Your heart travels through. You're part of so many other nonprofits. I mean, what don't you have going on? Or actually tell me what you do have going on and why. Yeah, and what you mentioned, that we turned it over. Like I said, I was the first president CEO for Make-A-Wish, and I never took a salary. I mean, all the money that came in, I wanted to make sure it went through the mission. But I have to make a career choice. Am I going to be a police officer? Am I going to run a foundation? I knew what I was doing as a police officer. I didn't really know what I was doing as a CEO of a big nonprofit. And you've heard the term, surround yourself with people smarter than you. Mm-hmm. And that's the best decision our board ever made, that we decided we have to start hiring somebody in the nonprofit world that has that experience to make it grow. And over the years, 40 years, look what they've done to make it grow a worldwide, the biggest children's nonprofit in the world that they've made that grow into. But
it's also allowed me to get involved with other nonprofits. I set on 8 nonprofits around the United States, helping develop just a little bit of expertise that I may have to help that going on. And we're covering all areas. If I can just quick name some of these.
Please do.
Yeah, Level Up Homes. It's in Seattle. And when a foster child turns 18 years old, they're removed. They're put on the street, literally. So we're developing these group homes. Just started in Seattle, where the foster child, 18, I call them a child, 18 to 23, can live in these homes, finish school, get their education, job training, become what we call the new adult.
I have to tell before you go on, because I went there. You connected after I did the interview with you live in Prescott. It's called Prescott, people. I was corrected. I can say it now correctly. I went to that home in Seattle, and let me tell you, I talked and I interviewed one of the girls that were there. Won my heart. Talk about a driven, smart, loving, not making excuses of her life or what has been given, just seeing the future of that is available to her. And that would not be if she was not at that home, that level, you know. So I experienced what you're doing firsthand. Very powerful, very powerful.
Yeah. And we hope, you know, the COVID has not stopped, but kind of slowed down all nonprofits right now. People are taking care of themselves, and I understand that. But once this is over, it will be over someday. We really hope to expand nationwide with this. Project Kind out of New Jersey, mainly in the Newark type area, for the homeless people, getting them food, getting them clothes, getting them shelter, getting them housing, work, everything we can do on that. Broadway Hearts out of New York City. This is kind of a fun one. I've met several years ago several actors and actresses from the Phantom of the Opera, the Broadway show. They've become good friends. Jessica Radowski, she's one of the actresses on Phantom. She's developed Broadway Hearts. All of these actors go, now they're not right now, but they go into the children's hospitals, the Ronald McDonald houses in the New York City area, entertaining the kids, all these kids that are in there, doing the Disney type stuff. The kids are loving it, and they're doing it right now virtually. Since they can't go in person, they're doing it virtually, and the kids just love it. The Wounded Blue out of Las Vegas, police officers injured in the line of duty. I mentioned PTSD, getting them private counseling. Police officer goes to a sergeant, and this happened to me years and years ago. Sarge, I'm tired of dead bodies. I need to talk to somebody. If you can't handle it, you're fired. And that still goes on today. So we've developed a series of counselors nationwide that these officers can go to on their own, private. The agency's not going to know anything about it. U.S. Vets, the Prescott chapter, it's not part of the Veterans Administration. We find the homeless veterans. We get them into temporary housing. We get them into counseling, job training, job placement, permanent housing. We've got an over 120 unit apartment complex that we just converted from old medical offices to apartment complexes for these veterans. Let's take care of my guys.
That's right. That's right. You showed me. That's where, when you took me on the tour of Prescott. Prescott's beautiful, by the way. Like, so beautiful. We ran around and I saw those. It was just in the beginning, though. Have those apartments are they finished or are they still under construction?
The one unit is where I took you was what's called Fort Whipple, old cavalry fort back in the Indian War days from the 1800s. And those were officer quarters, and they are about now half finished. We refurbishing those into apartments for the veterans. And just think, a lot of enlisted guys are going to be living there. Now they're living in officer quarters. It's kind of cool. It's going to be a big deal for them. The Rugby Foundation, based out of Las Vegas. In fact, I was just there this last weekend filming some promos for them. We're introducing rugby to the inner city kids, the kids, and this is worldwide, not just in the U.S., but get them involved with sports, get them involved with how to learn teamwork. But the big thing, too, is how to give back to the community with little fundraisers they're going to do to help their own peers. Women of Global Change, this kind of scares me a little bit because I'm the only male board member.
Good luck with that, Frank.
Yeah, with this powerful woman. But again, throughout the United States, third world countries, helping develop schools, clean water, things like that. Prescott Western Heritage Foundation just was assigned to a board membership on that here locally to bring back the history of the Old West. We've got what we call kind of a museum, a heritage center, right on Whiskey Row, right down from the palace where you were on the famous Whiskey Row.
I think we went there. You took me there.
Yes, yes. And now we're open. We're open back up again on weekends, and we've got people from all over the world coming through there just to learn the history of the Old West, the Wyatt Earp type thing, and so on.
Yeah.
And finally, Safe Beat out of Georgia. And this is so many children, and I never even thought about this, involved with sports, either organized sports or just intramural type sports, die of heart attacks because they're not aware that they have a heart problem. So we're going into schools, starting in Georgia, grade school level, high school, going into the schools, just doing tests on these kids that the family would never think about. I mean, you wouldn't think about your 9-year-old has a heart problem when they're running around all over the time, but just make sure that there is a safe beat with these children.
Yeah. Fascinating. So again, it's not what he does, it's what he doesn't do. I think that list is much smaller than what he does because you're all over. I've got to ask, what keeps you going with that? Why didn't you just finish out your police career and take your, your retirement and be done? What drives you to do all of this?
Well, I'm not the guy to sit on a porch, which I have been enjoying lately since my wife reminded me that for the past 6 years, I've been on the road. Every week or every other week, I'm on a plane somewhere, not just with movie development, but I'm also a speaker on the speaking circuit. I'll boast here a little bit. 2016, I was a forum's #1 keynote speaker in the nation. So that was kind of a nice honor.
That is a good honor. To think I wore that cowboy hat or one that looks just like that. I feel like I get some part of that honor too.
There you go. But no, I'm just not the guy to sit around. Whenever I can help somebody out, and that we point that out in the movie again, my childhood, kind of different from other people. And at 10 years old was told, Frank, when you can, help somebody out. And you don't have to have money to help someone. You can help with your time. And that's what I've been trying to do because so many people in my childhood, my young career, helped me. I want to give back everything I can.
Yeah. If you, in that movie, I didn't know what to expect. Like I knew you in one form. And so when I watched the movie, I didn't know your story. We never had deep conversations about your life or how this started. I just know Frank, the cool Frank, I just say you have to watch it because I don't want to give it away, but how you grew up is not a standard. It's not something that you would wish. And it's probably not a story that I think I've ever seen or read about. So it's a very unique way and how you came out, all this love and life that you have on this end. You had a path. There was a path before the beginning of time, and you just kept making, free will. You just kept making those choices to lead you to where you are today, which is a very impactful, inspiring man. So,
well, and the choices, I was guided by those choices too. I was so fortunate to have these mentors, these father figures in my life, starting in 10 years old, through grade school, through high school, in the military, even going into the police force. These people that said, you know what, I think there might be something special here, and let's see if I can develop that. And because of that, I always wanted to give back as much as I could to those type people. And that's why the movie was filmed in Prescott, Arizona. I lobbied very hard. The movie was going to be filmed in Georgia, of all places. And because Arizona doesn't give tax credits to the movie industry anymore. And Georgia will give you $1 million just to come into the state for the production company, plus tax credits. But Hollywood infuses several $1 million into an economy when they come in town. And I wanted to give back to this town that was so good to me. And that worked. The lobbying effort worked. It was all filmed here in Arizona.
That, it just says, like, to sum you up in like a little nutshell, you can't buy Frank. He's going with what he believes in and he's doing what's right, and he will fight for it. Like, period. And you did that in this movie, no matter how hard it might have been or more difficult or the time. And one more thing, because I'm over a little bit, but that movie, you were part of it. You were down and dirty in the writing of the script and making sure it was the most accurate to your life, which I really like about.
Yeah, and when you go to a movie, the first thing you see on a big screen based on a true story, Hollywood likes to embellish quite a bit. I've been involved with Hollywood before, so one of the things in my contract was I had complete script approval. Whatever was going to go on screen, I had to approve of. Now, and I was the technical advisor, location scout, consultant, producer, being on what you said on set every day. But from the whole beginning, 6 years, like you said, involved with every aspect of that. And the director, I just honored Theo Davies was the director and also wrote the screenplay. We got along so good, and he wasn't that dictator director. He would come up and say, "We're going to do this. What do you think about that? Do you have any ideas?" Or I would come up and say, "Theo, maybe we change this in this particular scene." Okay, but if he didn't want to, he'd say, "You know what? I don't want to do that, but here's why." Instead of, "No, this is what we're going to do." Just a great respect for that man.
So I don't know if that means your life is one big, like, wow, because they didn't have to embellish it that much. So that actually says something about the life that you have lived. So check out the movie. And Frank, before I let you go to finish enjoying your day over there in Prescott, Arizona, in this moment right now, I ask you to answer with the first thing that comes to your heart or your mind. What does love mean to you, Frank?
Oh, wow. I'm so fortunate because I've got that love. It's just that partnership, that feeling, that seeing each other, the smile. I mean, I'm gone for a day or two. My wife's gone for a day or two. We see each other again, that smile, that hug. We miss each other. We just want to be together all the time, but also the adventures together. That we can do. But build a life, things for our children, our grandchildren, whatever we can do to build for that.
Oh, you were just one ball of a hot whiskey shot. I love it.
Well, we got to do that again, Danny.
It's gonna happen. It will happen the next time I'm in Arizona for a longer period of time, or you come and visit me on my side of Arizona. Who knows? It'll happen. Although you have a very cool location. What is your favorite place? Where is that place you took me to lunch?
Well, it's the Palace. Now, I'm in Prescott, Arizona, northern Arizona, up in the mountains. We're at 6,000 feet, but Old Whiskey Row, they call it. And this is where the hangout for Western history. Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp, the Earp brothers, Big Nose Kate, they hung out between Tombstone, Arizona and Prescott, Arizona. And the Palace is the oldest operating bar in Arizona, rebuilt after the Great Fire in 1900 and continuous. And it's such an iconic place. People from all over the world literally come to Prescott just to go to the Palace. And that's my unofficial office in there, as you well know. I've got a table, my unofficial office.
It is. It's a good place. And the history there is so cool about how they had the prostitutes, and there was technology back there where you would ding at your table. You got to go check his unofficial place out. Not for the whole prostitution thing. They don't do that anymore. But the history of it is very cool with the gunshots and all that.
And great food, too.
Yes.
Excellent menu.
Yes, it is the place to be. So, Frank, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your heart and your soul and what brought you to where you are today. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see you again. And to everybody else that is out there watching, remember, as always, love hard, love pure, and love proactive. Until next time, we will see you. Bye-bye.
Go on, Danny.